Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another 2 episodes of Death Note to go through on today's AC Discovery, my weekly anime and comics show. Up first, we have the episode titled Love, in which L brings light into the investigation of this second Kira that has revealed him or herself, which we know is, the audience we know is Misa. And so L brings light in to investigate the second Kira, confirm his theory that there probably is a second Kira, and they want Light to pretend to be the main Kira and convince the second fake Kira to basically come clean and tell the police about who this first Kira could be. And one of the big things we get from this episode actually is some Shinigami kind of lore and backstory when Rem, who is Misa's Shinigami, tells Misa how to kill a Shinigami, and we find out that we hear this story of Gelis, who Rem kind of talks about as a Shinigami who fell in love with a human and went against his basically his main principles and saved the human's life because he was in love with her, and then we find out that that human in question was Misa, and when Gelis died, his Death Note passed on to Misa. And because every Death Note wielder has to have a Shinigami following them, we have Rem as Misa's Shinigami, but she also has her own Death Note still. And if I recall correctly from a few episodes back, it sounded like Ryuk also has a second Death Note on him, so we'll see if any of that stuff comes into play here in the future. So some cool backstory there, finding out that Misa should be dead, but is not because a Shinigami saved her and basically spared her life, is amusing and adds an extra little layer to her character, I think. Then in the next episode, we get Misa kind of laying the trap to figure out who the first Kira is, who Light is. And she can do that because it turns out when you get the Shinigami eyes, you can see everybody else's name and time of their death when they're going to die, but you can't see another Death Note wielder's name. She finds that out by looking in the mirror and saying, "Why can't I see my own year of death?" And Rem tells her that. And so she kind of sets this ploy she sends this coded message basically to the police, and drops in hints about like, oh, come and we're sharing notebooks this day, and I'm going to go look for Shinigamis on this other day. And so Light catches the notebook reference because that's obviously he knows it, but nobody else really does. But L, just to be safe, says, let's go do things on all these days instead. And Light shows up, and he's got kind of his plan in place where he's got a bunch of people surrounding him, so because his theory is that the other Death Note wielder, their Shinigami would be able to see his Shinigami, Ryuk, but if he's with a group of people, they wouldn't be able to identify which one Ryuk is attached to. But he doesn't realize that Misa can just see that he doesn't have a time of death over his head, because he's got a Death Note. So she identifies who he is, and then she kind of walks away and goes and looks him up on like Facebook and stuff like that. Fun little kind of like, oh, she just kind of cyber stalks him a little bit, as you do in this day and age. But then the climax of this episode, of course, is when Misa goes to Light's house and confronts him and admits who she is, and basically says she's there out of devotion for him. She wants him to love her. She is grateful because Kira killed the people who mugged and killed her parents, and so she has been wanting to repay Kira in whatever way she can. Light, afraid a little bit of how potentially reckless she can be, is apprehensive at first into kind of welcoming her in, but when she basically hands her Death Note to him and says, "Here, you hold on to my Death Note so I can't kill you, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you, please just let me love you, please love me," whatever. He kind of welcomes her in. He says, I'm I can't be your boyfriend, but I can pretend to be your boyfriend. So, for whatever, I don't know why he can't, but whatever. But so it looks like they're going to have basically a little pact and work together to try and kill L, because she can be his eyes. She has the Shinigami eyes. She can tell Light what L's real name is and all that stuff. And so that's kind of what we have to look forward to next. So lots of exciting kind of advancement here. It's been fun and exciting these last few episodes because Light's kind of been a little bit like on edge. He doesn't really know kind of how to play things out now that there's this other Kira and other Death Note in the equation, but he's kind of adapting and figuring it out. And so it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where they go next. So those are my thoughts on these two episodes, Love and Confession of Death Note. Let me know what you think about the series, as always, in the comments below. And I'm your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.